What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast where we try to give you some actionable items to take back to your contact center, improve the overall customer experience, improve your agent engagement, just improve the overall quality of your center. The goal here is to give you some actionable plays to take back, right? We don't want to talk about the theory of customer support or why things are important, but what are some of the tactics and things that you can do or you need to be aware of in running a contact center? Beautiful fall day here. Excited. It's Friday. I've been finding that I do better podcasts on Fridays when it's a little bit lighter, when my day job isn't probably hanging over me as much. But I wanted to pull the curtain back on some outsourcing things today. We've done this on what to kind of look for when you're looking for a contact center platform, right? And those telephony platform guys and kind of some of the tricks that they'll pull. Today, I want to talk about outsourcers and some of the tricks that outsourcers will pull or try to increase revenue on that probably isn't up to the industry standard, but a lot of them, I don't want to say a lot of them, some contact centers do this or do some of these things. Let me say this before I start so I don't get like a lot of nasty gram emails. The vast majority of call center outsourcers, especially here in the States, that's really all I'm going to vouch for because I've seen some shady things when you go nearshore, offshore, not saying all of them are, right? Because there's a lot of really great ones. But here in the States, the vast majority are up to really high standards. You really have very little to be worried about when you're looking at an outsourcer. Still, there could be maybe one or two of these things that they try to sneak into a contract that I just want you to be aware of so that when you are negotiating or when you're looking at an outsourcer, you have the knowledge to kind of push back on certain tactics that some outsourcers like to do. All right, so I think this is kind of interesting to kind of look behind the scenes at kind of maybe how a call center outsourcer thinks or how certain cultures of outsourcers are. So if you see and you're talking, you send an RFP and you get a quote from an outsourcer here in the States, and there's like 4 or 5 of the things that I'm going to talk about in it, I kind of shy away from that outsourcer and look for somebody else because there's a lot of really good ones that don't do a lot of these things. All right, so I got 11 of them for you, right? 11 things that a call center outsourcer or outsourcers, some like to do that probably aren't up to total industry standards when it comes to certain things. Number 1, absorbent setup fees. This is a huge way that outsourcers kind of they can recoup upfront costs, which is totally fair, right? But it can get a little crazy sometimes. I'll be honest, I don't think that setup fees should be that high anymore. Right? We're not talking about a vast amount of technology for the most part. Now, there's certain programs that have a ton of integrations and a ton of programming and natural speech IVRs and self-service and all that. Right? That's a whole different deal. But if you're just looking like, hey, I have 25 or 50 reps and I want to set up a customer service program. Here's my phone number. I have an IVR tree. Can you go do this? Most everybody's in the cloud now. Right? Not everybody. You might have your own proprietary system and there might need to be a VPN setup. VPN setups are not hard. That's a couple hours worth of work, right? If you're in the cloud, there's really no work other than username and passwords. There's probably some integration to do some screen pops, maybe some quick integrations on a little IVR or auto attendant. But when you get a bill, when you're doing a 25 or a 30 seat program for $87,000 for setup, I think that's crazy, right? I have never done here at Expivia, we've never done a setup fee of over $10,000, right? Most of our setup fees are, in that $5,000 to $7,000 range. It's, what is this going to cost me? Give me about a 10%, 15% overage. And, let's start the program, right? Let's get this off to a really good start. So that's something to be aware of. Push back on that, right? You can negotiate on a high setup fee. You're not going to get it waived, right? Unless you have some really, it's a really great program with a really great brand and those types of things. For the most part, expect to pay something, but if you feel like it's uncomfortable and really high for the amount of hours that it would take, that's the other thing real quick too, is ask how long this is going to take. So most places will give you their fee, right? It's $200 an hour, it's $150 an hour, it's $300 an hour to program, right? Ask them how that works. And a lot of times they'll push back when they actually do the math, right? All right, number 2, and that kind of goes with the setup fees, is that the training costs, right, are the same as your go live costs. So meaning, let's say that you're here in the States and you're going to pay $27 an hour for a rep hour on a program, and the outsourcer comes to you and says, okay, training is at $26 or $27 as well. It shouldn't be, right? The vast majority of outsourcers will be much lower at the training end, right? So it might be $20, $22, something like that, right? But it's not going to be 27, 28, your go live rate. So if your training fees are the same amount as your go live, then you need to push back on that. Now, I will tell you one thing that we do here too is all of our setup fees we ask for in advance, right? Because a lot of times, or we've seen it where, a program we'll get a week and a half into training and something will happen, and then the program never ends up going up, and then we ended up eating all that training. So the call center outsourcer should lower the training rate, right? But it's normal for them to ask for that stuff up front. So that's kind of the give and take with that. But don't pay the same amount as if you be going live. The other thing is, I lose my mind on this. Is probably my number one pet peeve is having to pay for client support. So if you have an outsourcer that says, hey, it's $50 an hour, $40 an hour for client support, or if they have a package, right? It's $2,000 a month for our client support, run away, because that's crap. They shouldn't have that. Client support should be all rolled in. It should be 24/7 client support. It's a little bit different when you start to work with the big boys, right? The giant call centers. If you are not a very large program, this is where the differences can happen in why maybe a smaller boutique, a 1,000 seat or under, or 500 or under, can be much better for your program than a 10,000 seat center or 30,000 seat center, or someone who's international and all over the place. So something to kind of watch for. Don't ever pay for your personal or your company's client support with the outsourcer. Number 4, the thing that I see a lot is the way that outsourcers will sell their per minute charges is say, hey, listen, you can just use us when you need us, pay as you go kind of thing, but their per hour charges are just crazy. We were just talking to a potential client, and the call center that they're using charges over $2 a minute, right? That's their charge. So if you do the math with that, right? And if you're working 40 minutes out of the hour in billing, that's $80 an hour that you're paying, right? So understand the math of your per minute charges, right? So anything that you get on a per minute, you're basically going to just multiply it by 45 because you're working 45 minutes out of the hour. And that's kind of what you're going to pay by the hour. So just because maybe you're not going to be, full-time, or you're using blended agents, be careful of going anywhere in that over 70, 75 cents an hour, or I'm sorry, per minute. If you get into the 80 to 90 cents, it's crazy, right? It's much too high. And you should probably even think about going to a per minute charge, or a per hour charge, getting my minutes and my hours screwed up. So let's say that one more time. so I can probably make sense. Anything that is over 75, getting into the 80 to 90 cents per minute is extremely high, right? So be very careful of when a call center kind of quotes you at those prices. It probably means they really don't want your program, but they'll take it if they can get it for that number. So just something to kind of keep aware of. All right, number 5 is upcharges for email and chat, right? Everything, if you're doing a per minute or you're doing a per hour charge, pretty much your omni-channel, and when I'm saying omni-channel now, I'm just going to say voice, email, chat, should all be included in that cost. There shouldn't be another setup fee for email or setup fee for chat, other than if maybe it's not during the initial, right? So let's say you just say, hey, Tom, I want to outsource with Expivia. We want to start with chat or with email and voice. So we do, set that all up and we start going. Now it's 6 months later and you say, hey, we want to add in chat. Well, there could be a $500 or $1,000 little setup fee for that, right? But don't expect, or if you have a outsourcer that right at your initial setup is charging you, $5,000 to set up email and $5,000 for chat, and then an overall setup fee, that's not right. Right? Pretty much all those kind of get tied together unless you're kind of doing them piecemealing them one at a time at a later time. Number 6, you should never have to pay for additional licensing for reporting or for dashboards. This is another famous one that a lot of the centers like to do, right? Now, if they are paying an extra license fee, right, to have you on their platform, I get it, right? Maybe there's a small fee for that. But this is a way that they can kind of upcharge. Sometimes it's $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, right? For you to be able to see your own reports, for you to able to have a login that you can look at a dashboard. So that shouldn't happen. Like, we don't charge anything for it, right? Every client, it's all rolled into our per hour or per minute charge is all of the reporting, all of that. And to be honest, the majority of call centers will do that too. But again, be very wary of that. Same thing with number 7 is extra to monitor or to have access to the system or to have access to your recordings, right? They're really your recordings, right? So if there's a fee for recordings like 15 cents per recording or 10 cents per recording, push back on that. There should be no charge for that. The only charge that may happen is if there's a storage fee, right? But as you guys know, I mean, most of this is not going to stay directly on a server. It's going to go to like AWS. It's going to go into Glacier. It's going to be, if you need it for 7 years or any of that, it's a very low cost. So just be wary of the cost. There may be something very small if you're storing it on a outsourcer server, but they shouldn't be making a ton of money on it because it's very low overhead for all of us. All right, here's one that a lot of outsourcers won't tell you about, and you can pay through the nose kind of doing this. Is if you're paying by the minute, right? Understand what you're paying for. Is it handle time? Is it talk time? Is it a mixture of both? Is after call work included? Is after call work included up to a certain time, 30 seconds? But if a rep is 2 minutes and after call work, does that get paid as well? So you have to really drill down, what the metric is for if you're charging or getting charged by the minute, and what does that minute really entail? Because if it's everything, right? If it's from the time, the whole handle time, including all after call work, that could be a ton of money, right? And you could be actually incentivizing the call center to be a little bit lazy on calls. Now, we would never do that. And I think most call centers understand and they would be held up to an efficiency standard. But still, if you open the door to paying them for laziness, right, it's not going to help you. It's not beneficial to what you want to do. So scope out exactly the time period that you're paying on the per minute charge and agree to that with the contact center. And also then make sure that they have reporting, right, that can justify and verify all the billing that they're going to be doing. It's a pretty big, way that a call center will just throw in a contract that it's handle time, including after call work, that kind of thing. you agree to it. Next thing you know, your occupancy is a little bit lower because after call work's included. They're not taking as many calls as they should. You're paying more, and it becomes an issue, and the call center's making a ton. All right, number 9, same kind of thing here. If you're paying by the hour, so we just talked about paying by the minute, but if you're paying the call center by the hour, which is the vast majority of our clients, right? Understand if you're paying for lunches and breaks, right? And that can be negotiated based on a per hour charge. But for a rule, right? For most of the time, if a rep works an 8-hour shift, the call center is going to bill you for 7.5 hours or 7.5 hours. So, that's kind of how you can kind of think that through. If a call center says, hey, we bill for 8, then I would just negotiate a little bit lower rate to kind of compensate for that half-hour lunch. But just understand that kind of going into it as well. Number 10, you should not pay for attrition training, right? Meaning you bucked up to the call center and you started with 25 reps or 30 reps or whatever that number is, right? And it's 3 months down the road and 3 reps leave the organization. Well, the call center should be on the hook to make sure that they pay for the training to get that number back to where you need it to be at the 30. So you should not pay for that. So that's something that a lot of call centers will do, is that they'll have the client pay for a certain amount or a certain percentage of attrition training. I think that's bad too, because that disincentivizes to get really good people on your program, right? If the call center knows that they have to pay for the training to get back to a number, they're going to think twice about the type of individual they have on your program, and you're going to get a higher quality person. That's just kind of human nature, right? They don't want to pay for that. They want somebody who's going to stay and going to do a really good job. So if you don't do that, higher turnover can happen on your program. You're going to end up paying for it. And it's a kind of a bad situation. I said I had 11, but number 11 was you shouldn't pay for recordings. And I already kind of threw that in there earlier. So I guess I got 10, right? I got 10 kind of solid things that you just need to watch for, especially if you're going nearshore, offshore, right? Again, not saying that they're shady. The vast majority of call centers are not going to do any of this, but you may see 1 or 2, if you do an RFP for 4 call centers, some of this stuff may start to kind of sneak in a little bit, and you'll have now the knowledge to know like, whoa, we're not paying for that. We're not doing that. Why would you charge me for that? And you can kind of push back, and then you kind of have the right to speak, which I think is pretty important, especially when it comes to the negotiations of it. So again, I hope that's helpful and kind of gives you a little bit of a behind the scenes of what some contact center outsourcers, just like any organization or any sales company, right? Any SaaS company, what they're going to do and how they try to look at, revenues and maximize revenues. Well, they can maximize revenues as long as they're, I think, doing it the right way. So again, not speaking just for my call center, but for us, like we don't do any of this, right? And a lot of the contact centers won't. It's 1 per hour fee. It's a small setup. We try to make money by providing a ton of value, having you increase the program, having you make more money, which allows you to invest more into the customer service realm. So that's kind of how we've kind of view it as more of a partnership. So it's kind of unique when I do go consult, or when there is a company that comes to me with maybe a huge program, right? One that I can't handle. They need 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 seats. And they ask me to kind of be a part of the process of bringing on these contact centers. And we'll go through some of the stuff and we will see some of this. Now that's a little different too, because you got to work with, it's a much higher volume, right? So there's a little bit different nuance to what some of the centers and what they do or what they try to do. But if you know what you're looking for, you can save a ton of money for your organization. So again, thanks guys. A couple quick things here at the end. I know you're probably already hung up now or stopped listening, but if you guys can start to post some reviews again, we've kind of gotten away from that. Every time I ask, you guys come through and are awesome with the reviews that you're posting on iTunes or on any of the platforms that you guys are listening to the podcast on. I also want to say, hey, if you would like to join our texting community, just text Call Center Geek to 814-247-0366. That will get you part of the community. Again, I don't sell at all. We just try to give some exclusive content and things to that community. That community's grown to over 200. Same thing with our Facebook community. There's Advice from a Call Center Geek Facebook community. Please join. And it's just a lot of like-minded individuals trying to help each other. And the last thing I want to do is, if you do need some help, whether it is from the outsourcing side, or if you need help, Tom, we need to buy a new call center platform. We're looking to go to the cloud. We're premise-based, or if you're premise-based and you'd like to just maybe layer on some cloud technologies on top of what you're doing because you don't want to get rid of your entire switch, let me know. If you go to just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to just have a conversation with you, see what I can do to help from a consulting side. Again, I don't charge anything for it, but just let me know, and I'm more than happy to help with any call center, contact center, rep, HR question that you may have, as long as it kind of deals with my realm. I'm more than happy to help. So again, thank you guys very much, and I will talk to all you guys next week. Have a great, awesome weekend.